Hello and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's new episode of X Vlog Live. I'm your host, Mr. BoomStick XL. I'm excited. I'm happy. We're playing games. Xbox is dominating on PlayStation 5's pre-order charts. We're going to get into it. And right now, there are 5 games out of the 10 on that list that are Xbox Game Studios first party. And you know what? The PlayStation Nation is lapping it up because those are great games. And folks, that's not where it's going to stop. Because again, I want this to be clear. I'm not getting a dime from this. All this extra money that Microsoft is getting from games going everywhere doesn't benefit me. We don't have attached bank accounts. I wish we did. What it does guarantee, though, is sequels. What it also guarantees is next-gen hardware and peripherals and the fact that Xbox is going to keep living, right? We heard it was dead, unfortunately, for all of those naysayers. Well, that's not, in fact, the case. But besides myself and C Money here, we have a guest joining us, folks. He has officially run the gambit. He has been on every one of my shows. Welcome in, Crispy Bomb. How you feeling, brother? Welcome back.
Oh, it's great to be here. Finally did it. The planets have aligned, I should say. The one thing I want to point out just real quick before we get into the total slander is I thought Xbox games sucked, and I have a lot of receipts. So you all are going to get egg in the face at some point because I'm just going to start dropping stuff because, everybody says, oh, Sony's S tier. Sony's the greatest in the world. Why y'all buying our games then? Especially a 4-year-old one. Oh, that's interesting. So we're going to get into it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm going to say this. I don't name the names and I don't carry receipts, but I'm not the only one on the show. There are 2 men here that do carry receipts, that do like to drop the slander and do name the names. C Money, how are you? I was going to say C Mustard. I changed my tune at the last minute because of respect and love for you. How you feeling, C Money?
You still said it. So it still exists. God damn it. God damn it. I'm good, man. Listen, this is fun times, man. It's fun times. Like it's funny because this is all like we're the only ones benefiting from having all of this, all of these games and stuff going into Game Pass. And then the beauty is that we get to watch them all purchase the games we get in the Game Pass, and they're loving it, and that's great. This is all good news, right? Like this is good news. Games getting more visibility, games going to be making more money, which is going to keep the health of those studios around, especially in the climate that we are in the industry right now, where so many layoffs are happening, studios are closing, games getting canceled. So this is all positive news, right? But we still, even amongst all the positive, because the ponies are who they are, we still get to have fun slandering because they're so emotionally distraught by a lot of the stuff that's taking place. They spent a lot of time telling us how Xbox games are crap and they're mid, right? And then as soon as we send anything over, it's like they're frothing at the mouth, like they cannot contain themselves. And it's not just buying the regular game. No. They said, yo, those 3 years or 4 years are too
Premium
long. I need to buy the premium edition to get it 3 days earlier for both games, bro. Holy shit. Especially like Forza, I knew was going to be a big deal because obviously Forza is peak, right? But Indiana Jones, I knew Indiana Jones is a great game. And, like collectively, a lot of people did, but there was a lot of slander coming from these ponies. You know what I'm saying? There was a lot of slander coming, talking about it being mid. All of a sudden, everybody got what was it? What's that thing where you can't see? Motion sickness. Oh yeah, everybody got motion sickness. It's a horror deal. But we're back, man. We're back. We have great stuff going on, and I just love watching it all in front of me. It's beautiful.
Yeah, you know what? There is a lot going on with this particular topic, folks. We're going to spend a good portion of today's show going over it. So, just for some context, because that's what it's all about when we try to explain what is happening in front of us. Well, thanks to multiple reports, and again, I used one last night, which came the way of Xbox Era. I'm very good friends with John, Nick, and of course Jesse. Some of the best in the business. I do like their work. I think that they are on the tip of spear when it comes to game journalism. And you've heard me throw them the flowers. They deserve it, folks. Well, the story that came the way that we used last night on Primetime Gaming and why we're continuing the conversation today here on the top 10 most pre-ordered games, 5 of which are Xbox first-party games. I said this months ago, and I think there's a lot of people that can remember exactly when I said it. I said, what happens, gentlemen, when Xbox has the 5 slots of the 10 that are available for either most played, most purchased, or most pre-ordered? And that has happened, folks. And it has happened in a way where Indiana Jones, the premium $100 edition, is ranked at number 1. The regular edition ranked at number 2, followed by number 3. Well, that spot is being held and has been held for the last couple of weeks by Forza Horizon 5's premium $100 edition, followed by, in 4th place, Forza Horizon 5, the regular edition. And rounding out that list is the first Berserker Kazan at number 5. You have here Death Stranding 2, which is the digital deluxe edition, followed by Elden Ring Night Reign, which is awesome. You also have Days Gone remastered in there, so that's good for Sony because it is a first party. Atomfall, which is in Xbox Game Pass. Death Stranding 2's regular edition. Forever Skies, which I'm not sure what it is. And at the 12 spot is Doom the Dark Ages. And I think that actually has moved up. So the thing is this. I know that that it does appear that PlayStation gamers want Xbox games. Now, there are a lot of reasons for that. There are a lot of reasons because, well, unfortunately for Sony, they don't have any of their own first-party games. And we just learned yesterday from a report from Jason Schreier that Intergalactic is not coming out next year. That's being moved into 2027. So what that does say, folks, unless they surprise us with a God of War collection this year or maybe even next year where it's the remake of the originals on the PlayStation 1, that would be awesome. I'd be there day and date to buy them. They might have another barren year and have no choice but to lock up third-party content, which I think is going to get harder to do when you can play Xbox anywhere. And I really think that you're going to see more and more people want to sell their wares on Xbox. And I think that those deals that Sony depended on for many, many years are going to start to shrink. I think this is why the China Project was created. Now, the China Project, if you didn't know, is Sony's big reach into that region to get games that are developed there as exclusives. And that's a good move for Sony because they don't have any of their own first party right now. But I do want to move it back to Xbox basically taking over the PlayStation Store. Now, folks, you got to remember, it's not going to just stop with Forza, Indiana Jones, Doom. It's not. Because this year, there is talk and has been talk, Crispy Bomb, that Hellblade 2 is going to be one of the games that is next, right? We also hear Starfield, according to several of the insiders that we all trust, is next as well. And if they keep putting games in here, and again, I want this to be clear. I'm not bending the knee. I'm not championing this. What I'm saying is that this is what is happening. And all of the people that said Phil Spencer and Team Xbox doesn't know the business, they've abandoned their fans, they don't know what they're doing. Well, here is a little piece I want you to kind of think about before I hand the mic over to the guys. So right now, we know, thanks to Matt Piscatella, that 4% of the gaming populace is considered the hardcore. 4%. I've been saying for years 15, right? I've given us way too much credit. We equate for 4%. That leaves 96% of the populace in gaming. Who are they? Well, the casuals, the super casuals that maybe buy a game a year are probably somewhere in the 20%, right? That leaves the rest of that number, which is, again, almost 80%. And what does that equate to? Well, that equates to the casual gamer, not the super casual, not the normie, but the casual gamer. Casual gamer buys 2 and 3 games a year, and that's about all that they do. There is going to come a point, Crispy Bomb, that someone on PlayStation who bought the box because they bought a PlayStation 3 and bought a 4 and then bought a 5 and are probably going to buy a 6. That's the casual audience. But there is something to be said about the current times financially for a lot of families in this country. I'm not talking about anyone else or anywhere else. I'm talking about here in America. Right now, things are super tough, and they don't seem to be getting any better. So at what point, Crispy, does someone on PlayStation buy Forza Horizon 5 and be like, wow, this is exactly what I needed in my life? And they buy the $60 edition, not the $100 edition. They're casuals. They're going to buy the $60 edition. And then they go and they say, oh, my God, Indiana Jones. I remember going to the movies with my pops, like me. And I want to play that. They buy the $70 edition. And Xbox keeps putting games in, right? Sony, no games. They're not putting any of their own games in there. And they're certainly not putting any of their third-party deals into any of their services. That's not going to happen. There's going to come a point where that casual gamer is going to learn about Xbox Game Pass and is going to be like, wait a second, hold on. So what you're saying is I could have gotten this game that I just spent $70 on in a service like Netflix for $20, and they're going to go buy an Xbox. Now, maybe they don't buy a Series X, but they're definitely going to get a Series S. And if they can drop that Series S to $250, people are gonna line up because they're not like us, right? They don't care about the Ps and the FPS and the graphics. They want something that looks good. And if it does look good and it's valuable and they didn't pay a lot for it, they're gonna think that they've won. And you're gonna see this is the quiet insertion. This is the Trojan horse of Xbox getting into PlayStation. Crispy, I want to get your thoughts on Xbox dominating the pre-orders on PlayStation Network or PSN. And do you think that there's a chance that a casual gamer will look at this and be like, wait a second, I'm losing out because I could be saving money and I get all these games for one low price?
I mean, well, let's take it back. We'll be honest here. Like, Xbox has taken a long time to get to this point, really long time. And as I think we've said last year, this is going to be the year, and they're just doing it differently than we thought. And I think that's something that people need to realize. Like, this isn't not well thought out, but also they're proving their point right now with the way the charts are looking on the PlayStation. You know what I mean? Like, there comes a point in time where, you thought they were going to be wrong, but really they're right. Now, as a lot of people say, oh, well, why do I need an Xbox when I can play on PlayStation? Well, look at the prices of some of these things. And we get them in Game Pass. And if we want to upgrade, it's like $20 because we're already a Game Pass sub. So if we want to get get any edition and any time, it's going to be discounted. Mostly for the early access. I mean, people shun upon it. I understand it, but I mean, this is what we're in now. This is how it is. So games will microtransactions, all that. I watched Nintendo Direct and they were talking about stuff like that. They also had something pro-consumer with that game card thing. So they're cooking in a way. You know what I mean? Sony's sitting here just like, well, we have nothing to really, that's why Death Stranding 2's there and everything. Like, whatever they have out is going to be on the charts. But at the same time, when you got Xbox games in different price tiers above them, and I mean, I'm sure the execs at this point are saying, can we sell some of these games over on Xbox? And you really think about it, they probably would sell really well, even at full price. So these are things that they're probably looking at because Xbox was just willing to take the L in the beginning because everybody had their own opinion about it, but now it's showing its head, and it's really making people think about, okay, like I'm going to buy, let's say some of these guys buy, Forza, and then they say, okay, I would love to play Doom: The Dark Ages, maybe even early. You know what I mean? Like, why not? Like, I bought the collector's edition because I wanted that statue. You know what I'm saying? But that's where it went to full price. Other than that, my upgrade could have been $20. You know what I mean? So that's where the consumerism comes into play. And you say, okay, if it's only 4% that are the hardcore, are they really including the people that just download games on Game Pass? Because, I mean, once you start playing multiple games in your system, I think you do become somewhat hardcore. It just so happens that you're getting them for the quote-unquote price of what you already paid. So I think they're going to look at that because they probably follow some, stan, as I call them, C Money has another word. I just call them stans. And they just, they stand out, they defend their box to no end, and they probably follow somebody like that, and they say all these games are trash, but then they're laughing about Xbox coming over and being like, oh, they're giving away all their games. And then it's sitting there, and it's like, dude, like Forza's pretty old now, and honestly, this is a good thing because now this justifies keeping the license longer. Anybody think about that? I did. And that's where you say, okay, like, like this game could go on much longer than it normally would because you've added another player base and clearly they want it. Oh, everybody, Gran Turismo. I had this argument 3 years ago. I'm like, dude, this game Forza blows Gran Turismo out the water. I'm sorry, dude.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm not a huge racing fan anymore. Like I love the Need for Speeds back in the day, all that stuff. But I played enough of it, and I'm like, this game just looks just incredible. It plays incredible. It has all these different things. They're going to go crazy over it. And you got all those microtransactions that are going to be sitting there. And Sony's going to make money off this. They're going to be happy. So it's a win-win for both companies. And I think this is we are slowly seeing the console war being diminished into nothing. And until that happens, which there's always going to be somebody that screams, no, it can't happen. Well, guess what? It's starting to happen. And I think once Sony realizes, hey, we can bring games like this over to Xbox and probably hit the charts just like they do. I say it's absolutely possible. You know what I mean? So it's one of those defining moments. And I think, like as we get closer to Doom coming out, and then like imagine they drop Starfield and people are like, oh, I can't. And it's like, it's blowing things out of the water. You know what I mean? Even though they talk smack for so long about Starfield. And they say, oh, I'll play No Man's Sky. I'm like, bro, they're not even on the same level, dude. Like, yes, No Man's Sky lets you fly into gas giants and all that bull crap. But let's be honest here. You go into a gas giant planet, you are absolutely turned into a pea because the gravity is too strong. Okay, so it's just not logical. Now, if they allow you to do it, it is a game. That's great. But don't sit here and act like Starfield not doing it. They might have started to do it. I don't know. But not doing it for the beginning of the game, that does not mean anything. Like it's not, they tried to stay true to what is possible. So, we look at realism and you don't really look at it. You just say, oh, graphics, realism. And that's it. It's like, no, how about like, game mechanics and like how things work in the world? Like that can be realism too. So I don't understand. I'm sure there's going to be so many. I would love to see Starfield go. I mean, it deserves all the flowers it gets. It's such a big game that I have trouble getting into it because like I still have like I've said before, Fallout it's like 75% done and I'm still messing with that, and I have Avowed, I'm still messing with that, and then I have Gears I always go back to, and then somebody hits me up and be like, oh, play Rocket League, oh okay, like I'll play that. Like that's the thing, and that's the wonderfulness of having Game Pass is that I don't really have to worry about buying anything but paying my subscription and it being auto pay. I mean, people are going to realize that at some point, and it'll go up a little bit, but it's going to go up with the times. Like if somebody goes up, like that's why they're charging certain prices on PlayStation. PlayStation said, "Oh, we're going to 70." They did it first. That's on you. You guys want to pay the price? You pay the price. Okay, deal with it. And that's really all it comes down to. Other than that, the other people are going to be like, dude, I could just get an Xbox Series S. Probably, I mean, think about it. They could go to $200 during the holiday. You know what I mean? And get rid of all the stock. You know what I'm saying? Because, they're ramping up for a new gen and new technology and all these things. So I think we're at the point where, there's going to be a lot of people, especially with somebody like me that has like, I could search my in my iPhone and get multiple different tweets from multiple different names of all of the receipts I have. And I like literally you argue with me too much and I probably have a receipt on you. So I don't use them unless somebody like disrespects me. And that's the way I look at it. So you just have to realize there's too much on the internet now. You can't just unsay what you said, because if you're trashing something and then you love it because now it's on your preferred platform, it's kind of stupid. You're not really about the games. You're about your plastic box. And I think that's just disrespectful to developers, gamers alike that just love to play games and don't care where it is.
Yeah, I mean, great points all around, brother. And again, that statement right there is going to come back to some journalists that are going to have to eat a lot of crow. Now, I do have some super chats. We'll get to them in a second because they are going to make me laugh and fall out of my chair. See, when he knows what I'm talking about. See, let's get into this because we've been talking about this on this show for a long time. You and I, we're older, right? We like the way things used to be. But you're also a businessman, and you understand that unless you change with the times, you do, in fact, and will be left behind. Now, if that's technology or tools or advertising, it doesn't matter what it is. If you don't move with the crowd, you're going to get left behind, potentially even trampled. So Xbox did something that a lot of us old dudes did not think was possible or even liked. And we've come to the realization that that's just big business. And it turns out that ideology that Phil Spencer was shunned for, you had a lot of people leave the brand because of it, is actually paying off in dividends. Like literally, it's being paid off in dollars and cents. And this is a perfect example of, and it might be a perfect storm, because there were a couple of times where Sony hit it right when Xbox misstepped. You go all the way back to 2013. That's a prime example of this is how you share games. Look, that one video won the generation for PlayStation. It really did. It was brilliant marketing, and it was just a 30-second someone handing over to a game. It was unbelievable. It was great. Shuhei, who could not love that man? It was, he left his mark in a big way. But now we're in 2025. Sony finds themselves in a very uncomfortable position where they don't have any of their own games see money. But Xbox not only is now hitting on all cylinders for first party, just look at what's been coming out since last year, and you can go all the way back to Indiana Jones and to right where we are now. It's been a loaded first party lineup. Those games are now starting to arrive on PlayStation when they don't have any of their own games. See, I think we can see some transitions. I think you can see people who don't want to spend $70 or $76.43 and be like, you know what? I know what Netflix is because I have Peacock and Netflix and Hulu and all of these services. And I know that when I pay Hulu, the $15.99 a month, I have all of these movies and series that I could watch at any time. Wait, you're telling me that Xbox has their own service that I can get all of these games that I just paid for? I think that is the Trojan horse. Look at your thoughts, man.
I mean, excuse me. Obviously, I think over time, more and more people will see what Game Pass is, and more people will make that decision to go. And it doesn't have to be an Xbox, right? You can just do it on PC. You can do it on your cloud. can do it on your TV, whatever you want. So yeah, over time that'll happen. I think ultimately, I think what Xbox sees is that regardless of Game Pass, regardless of how much their games are a banger, there's just people who don't care enough to switch, right? And honestly, there's going to be people who don't even like care that Xbox is a thing, right? So like you're going to have like Xbox's plan is not to necessarily convert these people to Xbox owners or Game Pass subscribers. The plan is to, in the way I look at it, is to subsidize all the Game Pass subscribers, right? So everybody who's on Xbox and PC and everywhere who's playing their games through Game Pass, they want PlayStation players to be the ones to go ahead and pay full price to kind of offset the loss that they get from Game Pass subscribers. Not that they're not making money off the subscription. I'm just saying every time they sell a game, they want those people to go ahead and jump in. Actually, give me 1 second. I'm so sorry. Hold on.
No sweat, brother. So to continue his point, he's absolutely right. So there's an offset that's happening here. We know that they're over 30 million subscribers, which is a lot of subscribers. Now, would they like 50 million? Of course they would. Would they like 100 million? Yes. Will they get there with the help of PC? I believe so. With this ideology of next gen, of having good old games, Epic Game Store and Steam as a part of this box that is rumored to be happening in 27, yeah, that's going to move people. Because ultimately, there are a lot of people like me, and I do like to use myself as the test case. I'm not a PC dude, and I'm never going to be a PC guy. It's just not my bag. But if you give me the box that does it all, you're going to get people that are going to be like, wait a second, I can have PlayStation games, but I can get my Steam library, because this is the trick, folks. This is ultimately the trick that I'm talking about. I understand that people aren't going to abandon their PS5s. I get all of that. But when Sony gets to day and date on PC, and they're going to get there, there's going to be a box that does it all that's not a PC, that's a console. It looks like a console, it acts like a console, but ultimately it's a PC. And if you can get PlayStation games, Xbox games, and Steam games, plus all that other stuff, you're going to see people moving over to this box who are like me, who don't want a rig, but will buy this Xbox that is PC-like. And why? Because it's a plug-and-play box that has the power of PC.
Can I like, just because like I'm absolutely with you, Boom. I am not a PC. Like I played on PC. I had a Gateway 2000. Played all kinds of games on there. It's not my jam. Never really like I do the podcast on a laptop. Like I'm not playing on this laptop. Like it's just, and it's like, oh, okay, like yes, I could probably buy a decent rig and do all the things, like, and the kid would help me because he's built his own. He loves Steam, but he has a Nintendo Switch, so he uses that. He has his Oculus. He also has an One X that still works fine for Game Pass games if he has a friend over, something like that. And you look at it and you say, if they do that with the box and they actually make it accessible like that for somebody like me and you, and then on top of that, satisfy what he wants and allowing him to use this almost as a PC, it is going to be a different talking point, and it's going to be about features of said box rather than just the exclusive games. And I think that's what Xbox is going to go for.
Yeah, that's a great point. Please continue your point, C-Money.
Yeah, no, I was just looking at what Xbox is ultimately looking to do by putting their games in these other places. Again, I don't think it's about converting. If people do convert, that'll be like a, just like a happy.
They just want to sell.
Like,
they want to sell software, brother. That's what they want to do.
They want to go and get the maximum amount of dollars out of the games that they already made. And that's just the reality of what it is at this point. Again, we've already kind of seen what the industry is doing, and no one is immune to it. Even Microsoft, they have all this money. Sure, do they want to spend all that money out of their own pocket, or do they want to make sure that the business itself is just doing what it's supposed to do? And that's what it is doing. But the idea that they can go ahead and take people who are on another platform that would never ever play these games and get them to drop $70 or $90 on a game. Dude, the fact that the $99 version of both games is the leading pre-ordered game, like is the leading pre-order version, is wild. It's wild that this is what it is. And look, these games are amazing. Like this is not anything where it's like, I can't believe it. No, I believe it because the games are fantastic. The crazy thing is that what this does, and this is very, very important, what this does is make you realize how small the group of ponies that exist that are on Twitter, how small their numbers actually are. Because those very people who would talk crap about the games that are now available for pre-order, right? Maybe they're not getting it. I mean, I'm sure they are, but the PlayStation community, the non-ponies, just the gamers who happen to own PlayStations to be gamers, they're lining up. They're lining up, right? They said, holy crap, Forza's here. They might not even know. Like, this is the thing. We're assuming that these people know that Forza is an old game. They don't. There's no messaging on the PlayStation Store. When they turn on their PlayStation, there's no messaging on the PlayStation Store that says, hey, come check out this 3-year-old racing game. To them, it's brand new. And they see that trailer and they're like, holy hell.
Yeah.
Holy hell. This is a brand new next generation game. It looks better than any game they have right now on a PlayStation. Forza Horizon 5. Like, that's how crazy that game looks. So the fact of the matter is, to most people, it's just a new game. And they're going to go ahead and enjoy the shit out of it. They're not even going to realize that it's Xbox related. Whether most people don't pay attention to publishers. You tell me any game outside of Xbox, for the most part, and maybe some of the biggest games, right, from the biggest publishers that you just kind of know. Outside of that, I don't pay attention to who made what. Like I don't really know, right? So like that's and that's me being somebody who's in it. Right.
Yeah.
Again, outside of the major publishers. So, imagine people who they don't give a shit, right? They're just here to play the games. And when there finally is a new, exciting, high quality looking game showing up at the store, right? They're losing their minds. They're pre-ordering it, right? This is what Phil bet would happen. Okay. And you brought it up, right? Back in the day, I couldn't imagine a world where this was happening, right? Like, what? Exclusives here, you guys have your stuff, let's leave it at that. But again, obviously new information comes about, you make new decisions, and based off of everything that I've seen, it just makes too much sense. And when you see, again, just looking at the environment that the industry is in right now, Xbox is really securing gaming for its core, because understand, they are not leaving their core behind to go put things in other places. So on the contrary, they're actually giving us more. We have Game Pass. We have games that are not going over there quite yet. But we have the abundance of games coming to Game Pass, first and third party, right? They just announced that for Call of Duty, there's some special shit. I didn't go too deep into it, but I saw some was it a Warzone or something? Like if you're a Game Pass Ultimate subscriber, there's extra
a bunch of perks. Yep.
They're adding perks, right? Which is funny because they kind of said, nope, there would never be be even playing field. But I guess, they said what they had to say to get through, and they're like, all right, here we go. You got Game Pass Ultimate. Here's a perk in Call of Duty, right?
And they're not doing anything illegal. See, they're just giving their consumers more value. That's it.
Agreed. And to be clear, when you, it's very easy to kind of see that there's nothing but benefits here, right? Like we already hear the plan for next gen, right? Which is wild, right? The fact that you're going to be getting an Xbox slash PC hybrid where you are no longer in a position where a game is announced somewhere and you're like, oh man, it's not on Xbox because it's PC only. No. Those days are done. You see a PC game and it's like, oh, well, oops, I could actually go ahead and get that right on my Xbox. That's phenomenal, man. Like, listen, I have a beefy ass PC with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Steam games that I've collected over the years through cheap ass bundles. You know what I'm saying? You buy, you spend $10, get 46 games from all these different publishers. I was like, all right, so I've have so many games that are just kind of trapped on there. Because if I'm going to play on my PC, it's for a very specific reason. Like I don't casually play on my PC, right? So I'm basically either playing, I wouldn't even say either. It's really just like a really high-end game like a Cyberpunk, where it's like, oh man, if I play it on PC, it has that much more. Or I'm playing my Xbox games through my Xbox, and then I'll say, all right, let me go play it on PC a little bit, get a little bit more higher fidelity if I want, and I could just kind of bounce back. But I don't sit there and just casually play on the PC like I would on an Xbox, right? Where Xbox, if I'm sitting down, I'll just throw on a random Game Pass, game to kind of see what it is. I was doing that with my son yesterday, and my daughter. We were sitting down, and I just, it was like they were playing Roblox. So I was like, why don't we try something else? So there was like this game that's leaving the Little Gator game or some shit like that. I don't know. It was a colorful game. My son was playing for a while, and he's like, he just got tired. He was done with it. They want to go back to Roblox, but that's where I do my casual kind of perusing of what games are around that are not the biggest and the baddest games that I normally want to play. So at the end of the day, Xbox has this all laid out in a way where if you're an Xbox fan, you should be nothing but excited for what's to come.
Absolutely.
Because we're getting more than we've ever gotten, and what's lined up is insanity. Like when you look at like Clover made one of those charts that updated all the games. Dude, I counted. There's like 18 games between now and the next couple years, right? And that wasn't even completely comprehensive. Like there was games that were not on the list, and that's just what we know. Like, dude, 18 games between now and 2027. You know what I'm saying? Like, what? Like that's
first
insane.
of all, where do they put all those games? That's the thing, right? Like we're winning.
I mean, that's the problem, right? But look, I mean, we see them doing it already. Look at them doubling up in months. Like April got 2 games coming out, right? They're not afraid to kind of like put things everywhere, right? It's just kind of at this point, I think they have so much that they don't really. It doesn't matter too much. You know what I'm saying? As long as they don't, I guess, cross genres, right? Like you don't want to release an RPG now and then an RPG in 2 weeks. But if you release, an RPG now and like a shooting game or something in 2 weeks, that works, right? We got South of Midnight coming, but we also have Atomfall that either just dropped or is about to drop on Game Pass. Then we got Expedition 33 coming to the end of April. I mean, man, there's just so much. There's so much that as a gamer, if you take yourself out of the Twitter bullshit, right? Take yourself out of the crybabies over there, who sit down and just all they do is just blab and blab because they're so upset and they just talk shit about Xbox and Xbox's plans because they have no plans on PlayStation. They have no roadmap. They have no excitement. The excitement that we see actually happening in front of us is the fact that Forza Horizon's coming. That shot up to number 1 on the pre-order list on PlayStation. That's what the PlayStation fans are excited about, to play that Xbox game. Indiana Jones goes in, takes the number 1 spot from Horizon. Again, that's what PlayStation fans are excited for. They want to play Xbox games, right? We saw some a PlayStation podcast say, you know what, they're calling it quits, right? Sure. They say they don't like the way the talk is around the gaming. Cool. They say that they don't want that they're not getting any burn from PlayStation. I could respect that. That's crazy that Sony just doesn't give a shit about any of you, and you guys are just doing all their work and they won't even acknowledge you. right? Like it's funny because Xbox does that, right? Xbox does acknowledge a lot of the content creators that they have that support them, right? And that's just the reality of what it is. You give game access, stuff like that. That's cool stuff to help that channel be able to cover stuff. And it's not negative or positive. It's not like, hey, here's a game, talk good. No, it's the opposite. It's like, hey, tell us what you really feel, right? Because they want to know. And that's amazing support. But yeah, I mean, this is what it is. Now that Xbox has gotten to this point where there's really nothing to say. You could talk about the strategy. That's your problem, not ours. I'm living life fulfilled with their strategy. I'm happy as shit with what they got going on. So the fact that you may be thinking that it's a problem, and I see Paris saying PlayStation works with creators. Let me rephrase it. I'm not talking about the bigger ones, right? Obviously, we know they do that. It's like these small ones that they don't seem. Maybe I don't see it, but these people didn't get it, and even somebody like was it Mystic Ryan? You guys know Mystic Ryan, right? He's like the only real good PlayStation. Like I watch his podcast on Fridays, and even he doesn't get anything from them, and he's a pretty big channel and pretty big supporter. But he literally on his last Friday he brought it up, the fact that PlayStation doesn't do anything, doesn't give them anything, or doesn't work with
acknowledge
him.
Him.
So
yeah,
like it's wild. He has like 800, 600, 700,000 subscribers. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, like he's not a little thing, right? He's a huge YouTuber, and they won't do it. So point is that they're just not the same, right? Xbox is very much focused on like that grassroots, with the real fans. So ultimately at the end of the day, if you're an Xbox fan, just enjoy, man. Don't worry about what people are saying out there. It's not needed. It doesn't matter. They're living in the past, right? And they want you to stay. They want you to stay. They want to see C-Money and Doodle go on their show and just cry and, oh no, what is happening? Oh, my precious Xbox. No, Xbox is growing. Xbox is blooming. They're doing more than they've ever done. Get out of here with that, man. Nah, I'm excited. Everybody should be excited.
This brings me to South Park and the member berries. Remember? I remember. Yeah, I remember too. Yeah, we're in 2025, people. Get over it.
Yeah, the business has changed. A lot of us never. Again, if you would have asked us this 5 years ago, we'd have told you you're crazy. But that's the business. Yeah. Unfortunately, the cost of gaming has skyrocketed in a way that I don't even think some of the devs could have seen. Games are costing $300 million to make. They don't want to make those games because nobody wants to spend $300 million on a game.
Well, it's a risk.
It's a risk. Absolutely,
they'll spend it if they knew for sure that they were going to make $1 billion off that game, right? Like investing, they'll do it. It's just that nobody wants to take that risk because we've seen some amazing games come out and then find out that the studio is shutting down or not thriving anymore because nobody's buying the games, right? It's too much of a risk, bro.
It absolutely is. But listen, we got the South of Midnight. That's happening. Early access April 3rd, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to be able to tell you about something that I'm doing. I can't talk about it today, but I'll be able to tell you about it tomorrow. I'm very excited about what I'm doing. But before we get to that and we get to why, ladies and gentlemen, you should be excited for this game. Obviously, the previews are out. I got a chance to hang out with C-Money and Doodle at the Microsoft Experience. I got to meet them in IRL, as the kids like to say. It was super dope. We were hanging out with King David, Lord Cognito, a few of the other content creators, some that I met for the first time, which is, again, this is why you go to these things. And the fact that we were invited right along with C-Money and Doodle was awesome. We got a chance to sit down and play Chapter 3 of the game from start to finish. We also got it sent to our console, so we got an opportunity to record our own footage, which I've done. And I'm limited to what I can say, but what I can talk about is why you should be excited based on the third chapter that we were allowed to talk about. and that we played. But before we get there, we got to catch up on super chats and channel member chats. And the first one of the day, C-Money, is aimed directly at you. It comes the way of Music72, who's been a channel member for 6 months, and he says, "See, free open buffet of olives and mustard for C-Money." God damn it.
God damn it.
We also have Gamer by Choice, and it says, "Boom." He drops a very generous $5 super chat, and he says, "Boom, you make logical sense about people seeing Xbox as a better option. But remember, people are not logical, and the media has deemed PlayStation as the place to play." I think it's an uphill battle. I don't think Microsoft wins anything or is given anything for free, or given carte blanche, if you will. They're going to have to earn their spot like they're doing now. But there is going to come a point where people are going to look, and the conversation is going to happen where they're going to learn about Xbox Game Pass, and they're going to say, "Wait a second, you're saying Starfield, Hellblade 2, Forza Horizon 5, all of these Xbox first-party games are on that service. How much is that service? $20. Oh, I'm going to get over there," because money is obviously becoming a harder thing to put away. Folks, it's just a reality of the world where eggs cost as much as a pack of meat, and that is freaking crazy. So people are going to have to look at their finances and be like, "I can get more for my money here." And look, I mean, I'm never going to suggest people are going to be abandoning their digital collections. That's not the people we're talking about, folks. The casual audience, they don't have these mythical 1,000 game digital libraries that we have. You know what they have, and you know what they do? Same thing we did as kids. When you were done with the game, you went to GameStop, you traded in, you got another game. That's the life that they live because they're casuals. And when they can get into an Xbox for $250 and get all of these games, people are going to move over. I'm not saying it's going to be in droves. I'm not going to say PlayStation Nation is dead. I'm not going to hear any of that from me, but you're going to see some people move over. And again, ultimately, Xbox is selling games everywhere. Does it benefit my bank account? No. But what it does do for me as a consumer and a fan of Xbox is that games get sequels, more hardware, more peripheral designs, and we keep winning because we have Game Pass.
Also keep in mind that I didn't bring it up when I was talking, but you had mentioned how Matt Piscatella said that there's only 4% of like hardcore that are buying a bunch of games, right? 96% don't, right? The real hard spot where PlayStation is going to be hit, and we've talked about this on my show a lot, is the casual people who might casually stumble upon a game and buy it. We know statistically they're buying between 1 and 2 games a year.
A year, yeah.
Not a month, a year. So the problem you have on PlayStation, for PlayStation internally, and this is going to be the big debate that will happen for them over time, is how necessary is their first party to PlayStation? Because their first party doesn't sell anywhere near where it would be something that's special to them, and they don't release enough games to make it where it matters. When you think about PlayStation now having to take their one game, like Death Stranding, that was on there, right? That was Death Stranding 2 is one of their most pre-ordered games, right? Until Indiana Jones came, right? And then all of a sudden that became the most pre-ordered game. So the question that you now start having to face as PlayStation, when you look at your first party studios versus what's happening, is these casual people, that 1 or 2 games, are they choosing you or are they choosing Xbox? Because right now, a bunch of people between Forza and Indiana Jones already chose one of their games that they're buying this year. Now, is there going to be room for both of them? Are they going to find room for Death Stranding as well? Are they going to go ahead and Ghost of whatever by the time that thing comes out? Is that going to be something? Or are they going to be like, oh, we'll get to it maybe next year? Like, that's where the issue comes, because it's not just, understand, this is not just Indiana Jones. It's not just Forza. It's Doom, the Dark Ages, that's going to be massive as it gets closer. You have What was the other one?
Outer Worlds
Outer
2.
Worlds.
Yep.
Outer Worlds 2 that's coming out. Like, you're having multiple points where people are going to be able to choose Xbox over PlayStation on the PlayStation Store. You know what I'm saying? And that's where it gets pretty damning for them, because if they can't get the same, if they can't get that casual base to move away from games that are on Xbox, because they're releasing games throughout the year where PlayStation's just waiting till the end. I mean, to be fair, PlayStation did release a first-party game this year already. Nobody noticed or cared to look, but it was what was it? Midnight Massacre or Midnight Club or Midnight Dark Murder. I don't know, some crap. Some little game, right? They published it. It's their game. It's their IP. They're publishing that game. Nobody cared, right? They didn't even care. They didn't even talk about it. So point is, got to look at the time, what's left, man. When you look at how many games Xbox is releasing, if they're doing this every year, just putting an abundance of games and making people say, oh man, I want to buy that, and that's going to be their game this year, or dude, it gets tricky. It gets a little sketchy over there.
Well, and again, great point, because that's without Hellblade 2 coming, which is going to be released this year, according to some insiders.
If it does,
without Starfield, which is going to be a big one. I mean, what happens if Starfield releases around Ghost of Yotai? Does that one game get bought before Ghost of Yotai by the casuals?
Well, remember, we another one that we forgot in that list, because it's so fresh and we weren't expecting it, so it doesn't stay registered in our head. Ninja Gaiden. The new Ninja Gaiden. That's an Xbox game. Let's not get it twisted. That's an Xbox game. Yeah, it's a second party deal, but they paid for that game. It's their game. So that game is coming out. What happens? They drop that next to Ghost of Yotai. Right?
Yeah.
Ghost of Yotai, which has no brand recognition to the casual.
I didn't think about that, dude.
Right? It's not Ghost of Tsushima 2. Let's get that clear. It's Ghost of Yotai. People are not going to necessarily just make that connection right away. And you now have Ninja Gaiden, the beloved IP, come out brand new, looking amazing the way it does. Come on, man. This is where you get scared over there in PlayStation land. If you're PlayStation looking at it and you just say, at some point, we all know it. At some point, it's funny because they want to talk about Xbox putting their games everywhere, but putting their games everywhere is making sure that they stay, right? But they have the money to make sure they stay invested in hardware as well, which we know they're doing. On the flip side, we know PlayStation doesn't have that luxury, right? So at what point do they say to themselves, you know what? Our hardware is the only thing we can sell, right? It's the only thing that flies off the shelves. First-party software, all that does to us is put us in constant fear because we're investing so much. And we might not even break even on these games, right? So do they become a store? Most likely sometime in the future. It just makes the most sense to them, for sure. Just keep making the hardware, and that's a physical place where people can actually go onto their store. That's where they'll be.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see, because again, the more games that Microsoft continues to put in the service, the more slots they're going to take up. You got to remember, if Xbox games are there in force, and there are 3, 4, 5, 6 of them out, and there are only one PlayStation game, PlayStation is not going to sell their software if Xbox is being bought and paid for by the casual audience who only buy a couple of games a year. They buy a couple of games a year because that game interests them. If a game like Starfield comes out on PlayStation, it's going to be in the number one spot, probably in the same order that you're seeing now. Deluxe Edition, regular edition, 1, 2. Hellblade is another perfect example of that. That is basically a Sony-like game. So if you have a casual that likes those over-the-shoulder, story-driven, movie-like graphics, they're going to buy Hellblade. Are they going to buy Hellblade over Ghost of Yotai? I don't know. But again, that was a great point. See, if you put out Ninja Gaiden 4 against Ghost of Yotai, one is a known IP. One's like, I don't know what this is, because it's not Ghost of Tsushima. I'm going to buy it and if there is a deluxe edition, rest assured that I'm going to buy it, because I loved Ghost of Tsushima. I have a strong suspicion I'm going to love the sequel. But we also got to continue with the super chats. We have here Day Reezy drops a very generous $2 super chat and says he thought that the grays in C Money's beard were mustard. C Money, they're coming for you, brother. They're coming for you.
It's
Why?
not blonde. What are we talking about here?
God
They're
damn it.
abusive. They're abusive, Crispy. This is what they do.
This is what they do to
This
him.
is what they do.
Nino Vistic, our generous friend all the way from Hawaii, has done what he's done many times before. Salute to you, to you and to the family. Thank you so much. He has gifted, ladies and gentlemen, 1 double barrel gaming membership. Aloha to you and the fam, brother. Hopefully you enjoyed your vacation. You're recovering. You didn't get sick, because that's the running trend to have family that went on vacation. Everyone's sick. Me and Mrs. Boom are staying away because we ain't about that sick life. We're getting older and we don't want to get sick. That's the thing right now. So if you're traveling, folks, you gotta load up on vitamin C, echinacea, and zinc. Do it. Go to the drugstore, pick it up, take it. Trust me when I tell you, I was the only person last June that didn't get COVID. Like, everyone got sick and I wasn't. And you know what? Also, airborne, that stuff works. I was taking it 3 times a week, and I'm going to be on that regiment before we go to June, because I ain't trying to get sick. But thank you, Dave Reezy, for the generosity and, of course, the slander towards Forcey Money and his obsession, or his non-obsession with mustard. Thank you, Nino Vistic, once again for the generosity and giving that double barrel gaming membership. We also have here Gamer by Choice, and he says, "See Money, you hit the nail on the head. Your son played a new game and was like, I'm going back to Roblox. The new gamers don't care about our bangers anymore. Just Black Hole Games. Great show." Brother, that's very kind of you, and that's the truth. Black Hole Games, that's where it is. Fortnite, Call of Duty, Apex Legends, PUBG, now Marvel Rivals. That's what all of these companies
you have a better
against.
chance of getting your game seen if you make your game in Fortnite or in Roblox or in Minecraft.
Yeah.
Dude, it's these launchers, they go into it and they don't leave it, bro. I watch my kids go from one game about, jumping, like doing an obstacle course, to my daughters are walking on a runway, like dressing up characters and picking like who's the winner. It's all online, so there's a bunch of people, to racing some dude. My son they made a game in Roblox where you get into food and you drive it like a car, and there's different ramps, and when you go down the ramp, it's like this big slide, and the food that you're driving goes into this mouth that's chewing at the end of the slide, and when you get there, if you hit it, it hits and bounces back, and then it chews you, and the car breaks apart, and you fall into the hole, and then you go down the toilet at the end because he ate and he shit you out. Okay, this is what's on there, and they are loving it. They die laughing. They don't give a shit about the stories that we want to hear in games. They don't give a shit about the graphics. They don't give a shit. They're dying, living their best lives, because they're just able to experience all this crazy shit in one place, and they'll just leave and go find another one. Go find another one. This is what
their friends tell them about one, and they go where their friends are, and their other friend tells them, that's what these companies are up against, and that's why you're going to see a lot of companies do some things that we would have never thought 10 years ago were possible. Xbox getting all the arrows, doing what they're doing. Folks, I'm here to tell you, Sony's going to do it at some point. They just are.
I mean, they have to, or they won't be there. It's either that or they no longer have first party. This is what's going to happen, man. As time goes on, and I'm not talking about today, I'm talking about, even though you're seeing it today to PlayStation where they can't release anything that matters, but over time, it's going to become that much more of a scenario where if your game is not everywhere, what are you doing? Right? Why are you limiting yourself to these games? Right? The power's there. We're not going to see, as much as Phil said, he wants to make it where you choose our hardware because of the differences, and that's cool. That doesn't mean that the physical games are going to be, so difficult to put to one system or another. So you're in a place where games are going to look great wherever you're putting them, whatever next gen console it is. Like, dude, just make your games where the most people can play it, and you don't have to cry so much when you release a game that you spent all this money on and it doesn't break even.
Yeah.
Look, the moment's past, man. Just embrace what's happening. It's all about getting your game in front of as many people as possible when it makes sense. We were talking on our show where there is, though, a clear difference here, right? Because Xbox has already put 4 games out there, right? Remember, no game has come from Xbox yet after those 4 games. Everything is just scheduled, and they will be coming soon, but it's not out yet, right? So those 4 games, if you think about what happened to those 4 games, the Pentiment, that was rated 10s all over the place, right? Amazing game. Barely did anything, right?
Nobody bought it. Yeah.
Hi-Fi Rush, right? Got pretty good scores. It was a critical darling, or like people loved it, right? But didn't do anything, right? Just like it didn't do much of anything on Xbox, right? What was the Grounded, right? That did better. That did better than the other games. But also they weren't continuing that game, right? So it's basically just a standalone, and the game's there, great. But Sea of Thieves, right? Sea of Thieves is the one that blew up over there for them, blowing up whatever blowing up can mean on PlayStation. But they're the ones that blew up. Why? Because they already had a legacy, right? They've been out for years and years and years. People have seen it. People have loved it, right? It has so many players, right? So coming over to PlayStation is like, okay, you're going to get, 1 million, 2 million people who are like, oh shit, yeah, finally I get to play that game. Cool, right? But I think these lesser games, they're just not like, they're not going to go to PlayStation. Like if they don't blow up on Xbox, they're not going to blow up on PlayStation. It's just the way it is, right? So you're getting a little more, but you're not doing anything dominant. That's why a game like Hellblade 2 hasn't been ported over there already. Hasn't been already scheduled for it. Not that it won't come, but the way I'm looking at it, I think they're trying to create for their smaller titles, things that are, and when I say smaller, I mean commercially successful titles, right? I think they're trying to create some distance to give it some runway, right? To let that game be out there for a while, let the name
Breathe a little bit,
move around for a while, and kind of build up something so that when they do drop, it's like, okay, this is dope. I think if you take a game like South of Midnight, right, that we've played on and the preview event, amazing, we loved it, all this good stuff, right? If you took that game and dropped it day and date on PlayStation, it would be for nothing. Nobody knows what South of Midnight is. Doesn't matter if the game's good or not. Nobody knows what that name is. Nobody cares about what that name is for the casuals over there on PlayStation, right? Nobody does. So you do that, it's a waste. But you take South of Midnight, you put it on Xbox, it comes out, builds up kind of a name for itself over time. The world is looking at it. People are excited about it. Eventually, you then announce it's coming somewhere else. All of a sudden, you got a little more excitement build up around it, better chance for it to do something, right? I think that would be the reason why we still haven't seen some of the smaller games go over yet. And even something like Starfield, right? As big as Starfield is a new IP. Is not Fallout, is not Elder Scrolls. As much as we know Bethesda and give a shit about it, Bethesda, which that's the only reason Starfield was big, is because we knew who Bethesda is. The rest of the world who don't give a shit who Bethesda is, you put Starfield out for them, they're like, what is that?
Yeah.
What's a Starfield? You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. It's interesting to see what they're going to be doing, how they're going to be handling all this. But at the end of the day, the more exposure, the better, which leads to a healthier industry, which leads to us getting the type of games we want. Right. Because, again, Roblox, Fortnite, they're taking over. Right. So we could end up in a scenario where these big companies are like, there's no reason to make these big games. Right. Except for the biggest. Right. Outside of the biggest, there's no reason to make these big games because we're not getting the sales. We've got to champion the fact that these people are trying to make gaming more accessible, more open to these games being played by anyone who has a way to play them. You know what I'm saying?
Well, listen, great points all around. We have crossed the 1 hour mark. What I'm going to do, folks, I'm going to pull the South of Midnight story because I really want to dig my teeth into it. And we're going to talk about it on tomorrow's Breakfast of Boom. But before we actually get to outros, because again, this is one of the smallest shows of the week for a multitude of reasons. We had some killer points from both Crispy and C Money. And again, the industry is changing. I like what you said at the back end of it, where Microsoft is making game more accessible. They're making it more affordable. They are putting games where people are going to buy them, and it's clear as a piece of glass, ladies and gentlemen, that people on PlayStation, not the console warriors who are on Xbox and Nintendo and PlayStation alike, they are the minority. The majority is the casual audience, and there is something to be said about Xbox dominating the charts right now every time they put a game on there. And that is great for Xbox. That's great for Xbox gamers because, again, that equates to sequels. That equates to Xbox not dead, Xbox not going anywhere, more controllers and peripherals that are going to be released that we all know and love. And ultimately, as Game Pass subscribers, we're going to get the sequels. So if a game comes out and it's played by millions of people, like for instance, I can't wait to see when Forza hits 50 million players. And that could be in the first 2, 3, or 4 weeks of the game releasing on PlayStation. Just look at the pre-orders, right? Now, is that 1 million, 2 million, 10 million? I have no idea. But I know that they hit 44.5 million players with just Xbox and PC. Now they're opening up the fact that you're going to get it. And listen, make no mistake, I guarantee you that they're going to try and get that bad boy onto Switch 2. And their gamers will lap that up as well. So there's going to be a point where you can actually say Forza Horizon 5, 50 million players. Like, that's just insane. And we'll see what happens. But let me just catch up on the last couple of super chats here. See money. We have here, let's see, Adidas 20, good friend of yours and mine. He drops a very generous $2 super chat. And in all caps, see, he says mustard and olives. God damn it.
I like both. Sorry,
I like both also. So see money, you're okay. Unfortunately, you're not winning this argument. Wow. But that's okay. It's okay. He doesn't like it. It's fine. Scott Woodford drops, who's been a channel member for 8 months. Scott, thank you for the generosity, brother. He says, good morning, everyone. I've gotten 100 people to join Game Pass this past week. I should market Game Pass. You absolutely should. So, hello, Xbox. Anybody around? Please hire this man. He got 100 people to freaking join Xbox Game Pass that probably didn't know about it. He's probably getting more people to join than some of the people making six figures at Redmond. Sorry. I mean, the advertising has just not been great. And they need some help. Sith Lord, vintage Sith Lord, by the way, drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, hell froze over Nintendo digital games transfer. Yeah, I saw that. I want to see more about that, what that exactly means. That is, again, shocking. That
very pro-consumer, I will say.
I have 100 physical games, 100 plus physical games right here to the right of me. And I'm glad to know that not only is it backwards compatible, you can make stuff digital, which is dope. We have Gamer by Choice drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, I think console platforms are screwed if they do not have IP that can be bought on third-party stores. Xbox has IP people will buy. Does PlayStation? Look, someone said it in the chat earlier. I totally forgot the name. I will say this, and I really mean this. If at one point Sony and Hiroki Totoki and the money people are like, wait a second, we're getting 30%, they're making their money. Sure, right? Xbox is putting their games on there. But what are we doing to make more money with older IP? Meaning something like Spider-Man 2018. Folks, I'm here to tell you. If Sony took Spider-Man 2018 and double packed it with Miles Morales and put it out for $70 on Xbox, they'd sell 5 million copies of it. I'm telling you right now, that's not even a question, right? If they took Days Gone, remastered, remaked, reworked, whatever you want to call it, that game would sell 5 million copies on Xbox, and it would be in the top 10. Chris, you want to say something, brother?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of those things that it's like it definitely, and this is where, like I sent you what I said. You are beholden to your shareholders.
Yep.
This is a publicly traded company. If I'm an investor in Sony, and let's say they're a large investor, they look at what Xbox is doing and saying, okay, can't we do that? Because we
Yes.
do have great games. And I'm not saying like Days Gone, when I saw that way in the beginning at an E3, I was like, man, this looks crazy. You know what I mean? Like World War Z status. You know what I'm saying? Like this looks incredible. And then they're like, oh no, it's only on PlayStation and everything else. And I'm like, I understood that because it's, you know, it's their E3 when they did it. But I'm like, man, this game could go places. And, you know, they had developing problems. That's understandable. But I mean, if you're going to remaster it, why not drop it on Xbox? I mean, I think they would probably sell 5 million easily.
Yes.
And that's sustainable for them to say, maybe we should go back and say, maybe we can make a number 2 of that. Because
Yes.
at the end of the day, they've done things of what they've done. That's not necessarily going to take away from that IP that they already own, and they could have some other developer do it. And this is the thing, like this is where we go and say, like, where's the Twisted Metal? Where's the SOCOM? Like, come on, man. Like, there are games that are so old that they deserve a remake, remaster, whatever you want to call it, and they don't touch them. And it's just like, dude, like, and then they cancel. A gas game with Twisted Metal makes total sense. I'm sorry, people.
Oh yeah,
Like it really does.
They get my
you know
money.
what I mean? Like they would get my money in some way. They would get me to buy their system. But at the same time, if you can't sustain doing that said game, if you add the third party aspect into it,
Yep.
Does that change your mentality? And I think that's what they're fighting with right now.
Yeah.
You know, I think the problem with these other games though, and I think one of the parts that I think we miss a lot is number one, you know, being core gamers, we know what these games are. So you might look at a Days Gone and be like, oh my God, I really want to. Whereas a casual be like, I'll never touch that game. Also
true.
on Xbox, the one thing that I think you both are kind of forgetting is the fact that a lot of Xbox people have PCs.
Yeah, that's true.
And have access to it. And like Days Gone has been out forever on PC at this point. Spider-Man as well, right? So like as much as you know, I think Spider-Man might do well because you'll tap into the casual audience. I think that question that was posed by the super chat is accurate. They don't, all those games, as cool as they sound, they are not. I mean, look at their sales, right? They've been going down and down, right? So the 2018 God of War sold crazy. Ragnarok sold less. Even Spider-Man sold less as part 2 than part 1 did. So
it's fatigue.
You know, where they're going down, right? So nothing's gonna. The point is that if people really wanted to play these games, they've been out, right? The core, if they really wanted to play it, they've been out, right? The core, you know, boom, you have a PlayStation, right? You really want to play it, you already have it. Most people are not going to be like you and say, I'm going to go buy it again, right? Because why would I spend my money again on the same experience, right? So I think PlayStation is in a tough spot, man. I don't think that those games carry as much weight as us as the core believe it does, because frankly, look at what they've done. They didn't greenlight a Days Gone 2 because they know that it's not going to be something that's a huge success. That the first game was peaked like that. That's it. What the best that did, it will not do more than that, right? And what has to happen to games, right? Games are supposed to be getting bigger and better, which means they cost what? They cost more money. But if you are already forecasting off the rip that the game's not going to do better than the original game, how can I, in good conscience, invest more money into said game? Right? Makes no sense. Can't do it. Right? So I think we need to separate ourselves from the reality of where PlayStation is right now, and they are not in a great situation with their IP because even their own players don't show up for their IP. That's like saying if Astrobot came over here would do something, it wouldn't, right? Nobody would care the same way nobody cared on PlayStation, and that shit is slobbering PlayStation. You know what I'm saying? It's literally filled with PlayStation characters, everything you could do to make somebody on PlayStation, somebody who loves, quote
Game
unquote,
of the
loves
year.
PlayStation. You're making them do they're doing everything they can to have you come and buy this game. And the 95% or 96%, maybe even 99% of PlayStation owners said, nah, I'm good. You know what I'm saying? So if they couldn't get the cute little robot to pick up steam, right? This is just where they are, bro. Like, we have to just see it. They're not in a place of power, right? Hardware sales, great, right? Good. But that at this point, the way Xbox looks as dumb is just like anybody who bought a PC, right? It's just another place for our games to be sold. And honestly, PlayStation, look at their output. That's what they see too. Just another place for Xbox to sell their games, because for damn sure ain't selling shit on their platform, right? It's all third party. They barely come out with new games. You know what I'm saying? We're in a different ball game. Yeah, you go back a few years, Xbox in the same boat, right? They only have 5 studios or 6 studios or whatever. They're not making a bunch of games. Those days are over. Xbox changed the game. They changed what it meant to be a first party platform holder. And they're saying, hey, if you're going to be a first party platform holder, you're going to go ahead and have a console, sure, but you're going to go ahead and release games, not just 1 or 2 a year. We're talking 10 games a year. This is the new way forward. If you cannot do that, sit the fuck down. And that is what PlayStation seemingly is doing. Their investments, they just opened up a new studio. Oh, wow, what have they done? They took the dude that opened Deviation, who left Deviation, and they said, okay, we'll give him a few bucks and we'll go ahead and have him make a game over here. You think they invested a lot in this guy? Come on, man. No.
And it's probably a gas game too, which is again questionable move. But we have one last super chat from a good friend of the show, Jezebeli, in the chat. She drops a very generous $2 super chat. She says, "Hey, Mr. Boom and legendary C Money, love you guys. Well, we love you right back, and thank you so much for not only being here, the kind words, and of course the generosity. But folks, let's get everyone out of here. C Money, we'll start with you. On Point for Gamers, right? You guys have made some big strides in the community. You consistently have great content each and every week. You got some great panels. You did some great interviews. Obviously, you have a big show you're going to be attending, PAX East in a couple of weeks. Brother, sell the brand. Where can people not only check you and the misses out, which of course is Doodle on a regular basis, sometimes 4, even 5 days a week when they throw the extra show in there? Where can they subscribe to On Point for Gamers? But more importantly, follow you guys on social media.
Well, first of all, Boom, appreciate you, brother. Know that obviously love being on the show, man. XVlog Live every Thursday, 12 o'clock. Catch us here, man. So definitely show up for that. And then, yeah, On Point for Gamers. Well, first of all, C Money Forever. It's over here. It's kind of, covered, but C Money Forever. My lovely wife is Doodle to be free is the name of hers. So definitely check us out on Twitter there. So we do have On Point for Gamers is our YouTube channel. We've been kind of growing and doing our thing, so I'm excited for that. We do 4 shows a week, schedule permitting. You have our Sunday show. It's Morning Quest. It's 10 a.m. Eastern time on Sundays. Doodle and myself. We have Night Quest on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Doodle, myself, and Pharaoh Bazaar. You have our Thursday night shows, the On Point Gaming Podcast at 8 p.m. Eastern with Doodle, myself. And then on Friday nights, you have the Night Shift Let's Talk Gaming. That's myself, Doodle, our homie Demo Flow Gaming, and our boy Hargeet Chani. And we just have a great fucking time, man. It's a great show. Obviously it's an Xbox focused channel, but we cover everything through the eyes of an Xbox fan, right? So definitely come check us out. I did drop the link in the chat. Tonight is Thursday, so we will be going in tonight. We have a lot of fun stuff to talk about.
Oh, so I'm sure it's going to be a slobber knocker. Cannot wait for it.
We'll be talking about it. So definitely come through. I see a lot of our homies here in the show. So shout out to all you guys. Appreciate the kind words. No Pabs, Space Shot. That's right, no Pabs. Hey, you gotta. If you know, you know. All right, but no pads allowed.
Well, brother, thank you so much for being here as always. Gamer by Choice drops a very generous $5 super chat, and he says, "Boom, you are enthusiastic, hardcore, and we love you for it. The rest of the people are mad casual and do not buy many IP, but Xbox owns many casual IPs that they buy. Yeah, they absolutely do, and they're going to continue to do that. That's why I think that the next big play for Xbox, and again, this is not this year, maybe next year, we'll see. But I do think at some point they're going to try and grab 2K, because why not own Grand Theft Auto when you already own Call of Duty? Again, that's just a big wish. We'll see. Lastly, Ryu Art Gaming drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, "The Bald Beanie Gang, it's Thursday."
It's not bold. We have hair.
Yeah, I do. I have a mohawk. I mean, you gotta see. It's right. Shaved. It's shaven down, and unfortunately, it gets crushed. So I do have hair.
Because we wear beanies, we have no hair. Like, God damn it! Not bold.
Ryu Art Gaming, thank you so much for the generosity. He says, #Sony too broke to make PlayStation 6, and we're gonna see what they're gonna do with that. But Crispy Bomb, let's sell the brand, brother.
There's one more.
People. Oh, there is one more after that? Okay.
Yeah, there is one more.
Oh, Sir Riffs a Lot drops a very generous $2 super chat. And he says, "The doodle rants are the best. #no PB. I was going to say no PBA. No PAB.
No pad.
No pad.
No pads.
PBA is something else. Listen, Crispy Bomb, sell the brand, brother. Where can people follow you on social media? Get the crispy truth and beholden to the fact that you collect receipts, kind sir. What else you got going on?
At Crispbomb on X, Crispbomb28 Xbox Live. You can find me wherever Boom invites me, or I just show up, whatever it may be. And, you know, finally I have crossed this off my bucket list. So
there you go.
And see, Money, you killed it, bro. Like, you know, salute to you, man. Like, hopefully, you know, hit me up, man. Like, I could show up on your other 5 shows a week or 4 shows, whatever it may be. So, you know, just hit me up. And it's just we're talking gaming, people. Like, at the end of the day, like, if you look at the landscape, it's changing. Yes, for once, Microsoft is not too far ahead. For once, when it comes to gaming, they're bringing you games this year. And if you're on a PlayStation, you won't get games too, man. Like, just enjoy them. Don't, you know, if you're an Xbox gamer, Game Pass is the exclusive. Like, come on, you know. So, you know, like I said, you know, anywhere I show up with, you know, on Boom's channel and anybody else. I mean, if you're a PlayStation podcast, I've been on many of them. I will talk my talk. As long as you're respectful, we'll have a good conversation, and that's what it means.
Indeed, brother. And shout out to Paris Lily, who's always lurking. Great to have you here in the chat as always, Paris. Can't wait to see what you and Danny do for the remainder of the year. And obviously, we're going to get a chance to hang out once again in June. Hopefully, he'll be out there along with Danny Pena covering what's going on and getting their hands on a lot of the new stuff. But that's going to do it for us here. Once again, a big thank you to all of the super chats that came in. We had over 400 people watching live on a Thursday afternoon. Of course, for C-Money, for Crispy Bomb and myself, we want to say a big thank you for everyone that took the time to not only hang out. Oh, we did get another one. Okay, hold on.
Yeah, you got another one.
Thank you, Thanaros, who drops a very generous $5 super chat. And Thanaros goes on to say, did you make Double Barrel Gaming Club on Xbox? If not, you should. I actually haven't. And you know, the reason why that is because it's so difficult to answer messages on the socials, answer messages on Xbox, and of course, try to do not only the 5 shows, I'm adding 10 to 12 videos per week. And that has really taken up a lot of my time. And on top of that, I'm now up to working out 4 and 5 days a week. So I can't miss that. It's just not enough time, dude. Like, I do want to do community play days, and I just don't have the time. It's just, I wish I had more time. I really do. But I will definitely consider it, Thanos. Thank you for the suggestion, brother. And thank you for the generosity. And of course, we're going to close out the show with something that's incredibly important to me, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully one day will be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you, you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of X Vlog Live.